In MLB history, there are a lot of teams that defied expectations and went on pretty insane, impressive runs. There were teams out there that made big changes during the regular season and then smashed through the playoffs. Apart from impressive comebacks, some runs have shocked us so much that we remember them more than anything else. On that note, let's look at the most shocking postseason runs of all time, ranked. First up at number 10, the 2014 San Francisco Giants. In 2014, the San Francisco Giants finished 10 games under 500 and 16 games behind their biggest rivals, the Los Angeles Dodgers, in the National League West. Even during the regular season of 2014, the Giants weren't exactly Titans. They won 88 games and got into the playoffs as the second wild card for the senior circuit. That's when ace Madison Bumgarner slung them over his left shoulder. He pitched 2 complete game shutouts, one in the crucial wild card game, and finished the World Series with a gutsy 5-inning relief appearance. This was big because it gave the Giants their 3rd Commissioner's Trophy in 5 seasons. It was the most unlikely of San Francisco's 3 title wins, though, and it might have been the best postseason performance ever. Coming up at number 9, 2007 Colorado Rockies. Before the 2007 season, the Colorado Rockies had only played in 1 playoff series, which they lost to the Atlanta Braves in 1995 by a score of 3-1. They had just finished a season in which they lost 86 games, so no one thought of them as a team that would win in October. Colorado, on the other hand, won 11 straight games in September and got the wild card spot. The team then swept the Philadelphia Phillies and the Arizona Diamondbacks in the Division Series and the National League Championship Series. The Colorado Rockies' Rocktober magic ran out in the World Series, where they were defeated in 4 games by the Boston Red Sox. The Boston Red Sox, on the other hand, played much better. Still, even after a decade, it looks like 2007 is still the best year for the franchise. What's more, at number 8, the 1993 Philadelphia Phillies. Before 1993, it had been 10 years since the Philadelphia Phillies had made it to the postseason. If you look at the year before, they had finished last in the National League East, but it looks like they had finally decided to turn the tables around. Instead of letting fans down again, the Phillies won the NL East with a team that included spark-plug center fielder Lenny Dykstra and mulleted closer Mitch Wild Thing Williams. After that, they shocked the baseball world by winning the National League Championship Series 4-2 against the Atlanta Braves. Yes, Williams' season ended when Joe Carter of the Toronto Blue Jays hit a walk-off home run in Game 6 of the World Series, but the run gave Philadelphia a much-needed taste of winning. After this, they didn't get back to the playoffs until 2007. Up next at number 7, 1991 Minnesota Twins. This wasn't the Twins' most shocking run, that's for sure, but it's still good enough to make it to the list. After a terrible season in 1990, Minnesota turned things around in 21 games and won the AL West. Right-hand pitcher Jack Morris, center fielder Kirby Puckett, and Rookie of the Year second baseman Chuck Knobloch were the key players in this turnaround. The Twins beat the Toronto Blue Jays 4-1 in the ALCS and finished their Cinderella season by beating the Braves in 7 games in the World Series. This match was huge because the team was able to bring Minnesota one of only 3 titles in the franchise history, including the 1924 victory by the Senators. And then they had even more reason to celebrate because the Fall Classic was also the last championship in any major men's professional sport in the Twin Cities, which is now more than 30 years ago. Moving on to, at number 6, the 1991 Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves of 1990 were so bad that they finished 26 games behind the rest of the NL West. The next year, they were in first place thanks to a group of young pitchers led by Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, and Steve Avery. Apart from them, they had a pretty strong offense too, which was led by National League MVP and third baseman Terry Pendleton. After beating the Pirates in a well-pitched NLCS that went 7 games and had 4 shutouts and 3 1-0 finishes, the Braves lost to the underdog Minnesota Twins in the World Series. Greg Maddux may have something to do with this win, since things changed when he was added to the team's rotation. But even if Atlanta dominated baseball in the 1990s, it only won 1 championship in 1995. Not gonna lie, this was probably the most memorable run the Braves ever gave us. Let's look at number 5, 2003 Florida Marlins. After winning their first championship in 1997, the Florida Marlins changed their lineup and lost every season for the next 5 years. In 2002, they finished in 4th place. Then the Fish went as far as 10 games under 500 in 2003, but they returned to finish 91-71 and win the National League wildcard. After beating the defending NL champion Giants in the NLDS, the Florida Marlins beat the Chicago Cubs in a 7-game NLCS that will always be remembered remembered for Steve Bartman's bad foul ball grab. The Marlins' last game was against the New York Yankees, who were heavily favored and had won 101 games. Not to mention they had a lot of stars too. The Marlins won their second championship thanks to clutch hitting and the work of 23-year-old right-hander Josh Beckett, who threw a complete game shutout. Following up at number 4, 1990 Cincinnati Reds. The 1989 season was pretty disappointing, and after that, the Cincinnati Reds hadn't made the playoffs in 10 years. The best times for the Big Red Machine were a long time ago. In 1990, though, Cincinnati made a big turnaround, winning 91 games and taking the National League West flag. That would have been enough, but the Reds blew through the playoffs, beating the favored Pittsburgh Pirates in 6 games. For the big finale, the Cincinnati Reds swept the powerful defending champion Oakland A's in the World Series. We probably owe a huge chunk of the credit to Chris Sabo, the Reds' third baseman. He hit .563 with 2 home runs against Oakland and probably should have been named World Series MVP. Next up at number 3, 2008 Tampa Bay Rays. With an undeniable knack for leading his team to victory, Joe Maddon proved himself a baseball master in 2016 by breaking the Cubs' infamous curse and taking them all the way to the World Series glory. Before this feat, he was already well known as the savior of Tampa Bay's disastrous Rays franchise. Prior to the 2008 season, Tampa Bay had lost more than 90 games every year since it started playing, but then the Rays beat out the big spending Red Sox and Yankees for the American League East title by winning 97 games and getting better performances from everyone on the team. In the ALDS, they beat the Chicago White Sox 3-1, and then they beat Boston again in a 7-game ALCS. When the Phillies beat Tampa Bay in the World Series, the Rays didn't get to celebrate with champagne and confetti, but it was the first of 6 straight winning seasons for the small market Rays. Not to mention at number 2, 1987 Minnesota Twins. Before 1987, the Twins hadn't made the playoffs or had a winning season in 17 years. They also hadn't won the World Series as a team since 1924, when they were called the Senators and played in Washington, D.C. All that dull history went away when the Twins won the American League West by beating the Royals by 1 game. Then, in the ALCS, the Minnesota Twins beat the 98-win Detroit Tigers 4-1. That put them in the World Series against the St. Louis Cardinals, which Minnesota beat in 7 games. The Twins were not the best team in baseball, though. They were 20 runs behind at the end of the regular season, which makes their championship even more impressive. The first baseman, Kent Herbeck, recently said that they were able to get good because they admitted where they were making mistakes. Finally, at number 1, the 1969 New York Mets. Yes, the amazing Mets of 1969 won 100 games on their way to winning their first championship. But before that, they were such a joke that their run in 1969 seemed unlikely all the way to the last pitch. The Mets finished the season with a record of 73-89, which was easily their best since they joined the league in 1962. They lost 120 games that season, and they would lose 101 or more games in 4 of the next 5 seasons. Most people's predictions didn't include the 1969 team, which was led by manager Gil Hodges and ace Tom Seaver. Even though they were the Mets, their lineup wasn't very strong. Still, they surprised everyone by taking first place in the newly formed NL East, and Seaver winning the National League Cy Young Award. Then, in the first ever NLCS, they beat the Atlanta Braves in 4 games and beat the Baltimore Orioles 4-1 to win the championship. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on these most shocking postseason runs of all time? Let us know in the comments below. Also, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.